We are back. It's been a small bit since a tutorial, but I have a bunch of new and exciting ones on the way, so please keep an eye out. They're going to be coming in the next couple of weeks, down the line. Another little tidbit before we get into the tutorial today. If you haven't, please check out the Predator Killer of Killers trailer that just recently dropped as a project that I was fortunate enough to be a previous supervisor on. And man, is it just a project that I am absolutely so proud of. Please go check it out if you haven't. If you have, or if you go and you watch it and you come back, please let me know in the comments what you think of it. Are you excited for it? I'm excited for it. But now moving on to today, Metahumans. If you don't know by now, Metahumans are an incredible tool released by Epic Games that offer you high fidelity rigging and animation controls. And the only problem is that it's realistic humans, and we tend to do a lot of stylized stuff on this channel. But is it going to be a problem for long? No, because today I'm going to walk you through my process of creating a stylized metahuman. We're going to be using MetaPipe to create our stylized body, and then we're going to use MetaTailor to attach clothes with dynamic properties ready for your next project. Now, MetaPipe allows us to create custom geometry metahumans and creates custom metahuman DNA, and it feeds into all the tools and everything, for example, Metahuman Animator. And then MetaTailor is a drag and drop tool that allows us to style our character and reorder the layering in a matter of moments. Like having a shirt tucked or untucked is just a matter of moving it underneath or over in the layer panel. It does all sorts of clothes, shoes, accessories, has a library, supports custom clothing, and even supports custom skeletons. But we're gonna save that for another video. Now, full transparency, I did receive access to MetaTailor to feature it in this video. And the only requirement that they asked for, and I'm gonna read this from the email, is that I be as honest and critical as possible with MetaTailor. So even though they gave me access, they don't need to see this video before I post, and they want me to be as open and honest as I can be. I think that's pretty cool, because clearly they want to improve their product as much as they can, and I think that's pretty respectable. Now, if you watch this video and you're like, oh man, I want to try MetaTailor and I want to purchase it, they gave me a link. It's going to be in the description below. It's a pretty hefty discount off of the price for the first month, so it's pretty sweet. Again, that'll be in the description below if you are interested in that. Now, to use MetaPipe, you do need to use the metahuman mesh or geometry. You have to wrap the metahuman mesh to your custom character, whether it be a sculpt or just a regular character mesh. Now, there are a couple tools out there. I think there's one in ZBrush, and I think there's one that's standalone. I found one that was in Maya called Topo Wrap, and that's what I used. Now, I've already wrapped my mesh and transferred the vertex order, because that is important when it comes to MetaPipe. So I'm just going to move forward with using MetaPipe to get my character ready to bring into Unreal Engine. If you'd like me to walk through the Topo Wrap workflow, just let me know in the comments below. But let's get into Maya. I already have MetaPipe open. I'm using MetaPipe 2. There is a MetaPipe 3. I haven't gotten it because it is an extra charge for me and it goes to a subscription based. MetaPipe 2 is a perpetual purchase. I'm not sure if it's still available. It might be renamed like MetaPipe Origins or something. I could totally be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But I'll be using MetaPipe 2 here. Something to keep in mind when you open up MetaPipe, auto key needs to be off, and sometimes it's a little bit finicky where you actually need to have the window maximized full screen for it to work. Like I have a wide screen right now, and the way that I'm recording and stuff, I can't have it full screen, so that's why I opened it up. So there's a couple of things with MetaPipe that you have to do to set it all up. They have an amazing library of videos on their YouTube channel that help that set up, and they try to automate a lot of that, which is phenomenal. I'm not going to walk you guys through that because there are some great resources on that. I'm just going to move forward to the build stage. So I'm just going to hit build DNA, and we're going to get the option for editable or rigged. We will choose editable. And it might take a little moment to load some of these processes, so just keep that in mind. It's okay. So once that's done, you'll see we have a file that has a head mesh and a bunch of joints and the control panel. If we select one of these and we try to move it, and we try to move it, nothing happens. Nothing's connected. That's okay. That's why we chose editable. We are going to hit load DNA. So our next step is we're going to batch import our geometry. The process that MetaPipe kind of goes through is basically you bring in your geometry and it reads the UVs and compares it, and like where a joint might be on a UV, it's going to transform that out. That's what joint transform is. And it kind of moves it out to fix that. It pushes it to all the blend shapes, etc. and whatnot. So let's hit batch import. I have a bunch of files here, but we have deli head vertex order, deli body vertex order, and then right eye, left eye. You could do like custom teeth and stuff, but it's fine for now. You don't need to do that right now. If it doesn't have custom teeth, what it will do is just bring in the MetaHuman one and place it accordingly. So I'm usually okay with that. So we have our head, our body, our right eye, and our left eye. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all the geometry here. We want to select the head and the body because it's going to transform the joints accordingly. And then we are just going to hit joint transform. So now that that's all set up, we can save our DNA. So now that that's all done, we have this file. We have our head, our skeleton, and if we select this, it is all connected, which is pretty awesome. Now, the one thing to note, we don't have our body, and that's okay. Once we go through to the next step, we'll bring our body back in and we'll set that all up. Before I go to the next step though, there are a couple tools here that I'm not gonna showcase right now. Frankly, I haven't had to use them too much. I'm not entirely sure what the independent topo is, but there's the blend shape export and blend shape edit. Essentially, what that allows you to do is export all the blend shapes that are associated with MetaHuman. And if you needed to tweak any blend shapes, so say like for a blink, if it's not closing fully, then you can adjust kind of where that sits. You can adjust it and then you can bring it back in. I'm not going to touch it, but that would be how you do it. Connect rig, again, not too sure. So I'm just gonna hit toggle panel and that's gonna bring me to the next set. And this is for the body. It's a little confusing. You would think, okay, ready to batch import and then here, prepare to export. Actually, you wanna hit prepare to export first. So a little weird, but prepare to export and then we're gonna import our body. So we're gonna import the same file from before, the deli body vertex order. And now if I select the body and I hit build body, we have this option, legacy and fixed pose. Legacy, I've had some issues with. Fixed pose seems to be the way to go. Now that that's all done, we're almost there. So if you see here, if we go to X-ray joints, we have our spine all set up. If I select a joint, it's moving. It's not connected to the head yet, so there's a little bit of weirdness there, but it is skinned, which is great. The next step would be to fix pose. So when you hit fix pose, you get the option of full body and arms and legs. We're going to hit full body and you'll see that it just moves everything just a little bit. There we go. So basically what that does, what the fix pose does, is it just moves it just slightly to where it's good. And if we hit fix pose again, because we need to hit it one more time, do arms and legs, let that go through its process, and now we're ready to get into the next stage. So you have to do full body and arms and legs to get through. But you can see everything is pretty much set up here. And again, the reason that we have to do that is MetaHuman is very particular on the pose for a lot of settings and whatnot. So this is just a way for it to make sure that it's in the correct area. When you're wrapping your geometry, you want it to be in the same orientation or at least pretty close. That way it makes the process a little bit easier. So with this all set up now, we're just going to move on to the next area. There's a little seam between the head and the body. We are just going to make sure nothing is selected and hit seam fix. And there we go, that fixes that. Something that we have to do for the head mesh is we need to bring in a vertex color map. Now the vertex color map is already generated when everything is set up and it's in the data folder of the DNA calibration folder. So if we go up to mesh display, we're gonna hit paint vertex color tool and we're going to click that, but go over to the tool settings. In the tool settings, there's at the bottom attribute maps and we're gonna import. We're going to import, go to our C drive and the DNA calibration and go to data. And there's a image here, vertex color JPEG, and we're just going to double click that. So now that that's done, we only have one other thing to do and then we can export this. We're going to go through our geometry. So if I go to body, we don't need all of the LODs and everything. So I'm going to delete these folders. The combined and flip-flops I don't need, that's unwanted. In the head geometry, we can delete all of these LODs. And then MetaHuman has a lot of things for saliva, eyelashes, eye shell, a cartilage. I don't need all of that for my stylized character, so I'm just going to delete that. Eye shell, eyelashes, eye edge, and cartilage. I just need the head, teeth, and the eyes. So now that that's all set, we can select all the geometry besides our head, and we're going to hit Material Assign. What that's going to do is that's going to create a material for each object selected and assign it so they all have unique objects when we bring it into Unreal. Now, before we hit export, I want to go over to the export selection settings. This is pretty important. If we go to export, FBX export, and hit export, it's going to bring this up. These are the settings that you want to follow. So we want tangents and binormals on, preserve instances on, and reference assets content on. We want everything else unchecked. We don't want animation on. We could go down. We want include children and input connections on, and you could just pretty much copy all these. And we're just going to hit cancel. We're not exporting anything from that, but those are the settings that we need to set. Now we can just hit export. So now we have our file set. It's exported, and we can bring it into Unreal. So we're in Unreal. There's a few things we need to make sure are set before we can import any. So go to edit, we'll go to plugins, and we're just gonna search MetaHuman, and we just wanna make sure the MetaHuman plugin is on. It might not normally be set for your project. You might need to restart the engine. That's okay, just do that. The next thing that you would do is you would go up to here and go to Quixel Bridge. In Quixel Bridge, there's a MetaHumans area, and you could go to My MetaHumans. Now in the setup for MetaPipe, you create a MetaHuman and you bring it into Maya and you set up all this DNA and body mesh and everything. And we need to make sure that this MetaHuman that we have set up already for MetaPipe is in our project in Unreal. So I've already done it, but you just go here and you download it and then you add it to your project. So I'm in MetaHumans, and you could see custom DNA is the name of my MetaHuman, and I have that folder here. So I'm going to create a new folder for my new character. So let's call this Stylized Metahuman, or MH. And if we go over to our file explorer, we have our C drive, and then we're in the DNA calibration folder that we set up with MetaPipe. In the output folder, you see a head FBX, a body FBX, a DNA file, and a Maya file. We're just going to rename the head and body, and I'm just putting SMH in the front. The reason we do this is if we have multiple characters that we're setting up for a project, you don't want them to be named the same thing. You don't want a bunch of head and body. You want to differentiate them somehow. So I'm going to click and drag the head FBX into my content browser and import that first. We have some import options that we need to make sure are set, so let's go check them. We need recompute normals off and use mic t-space off. If we scroll down to skeleton, we need to set that to the face archetype skeleton. And if we go down further, we want import morph targets on. Those are basically blend shapes. And the physics asset will be the face archetype physics. And we can hit import. So once that's all set, I'm just going to hit save, and we're going to open up our head skeletal mesh. We want to do this all before importing the body. So if I go to LOD0, we're going to find the material that is our head, which is the first one, Lambert 1. We're going to go to recompute tangents and change that from none to green. If I scroll down even more, skin cache usage, we're going to change that from auto to enabled. And if I keep going down further, we're going to go to the default animating rig. We're going to just change that to face control board. And the post-process anim blueprint, we can drop that down and go to face post-process anim BP. Now there's two more things that we need to do. There's the asset user data under skeletal mesh. We're going to add two elements. So add an element, click here, and we're just going to type MetaHuman, and it'll be MetaHuman DNA data. And then we'll do that one more time, and we're going to do asset guideline. So now that that's all set, we can hit save and we can close that out. Now, one more step before we bring in our body. We're going to go back to our file explorer, and we're going to bring this DNA folder into the content browser. And you'll see there's a DNA import options. It should auto-populate with the correct skeletal mesh if you put it into that content browser. If it doesn't, just click the drop down and grab the skeletal mesh that you need. So SMH head, and we're gonna import. You'll see that now needs to be saved. I'm just gonna save it. Now we can import our body. So one more time, go into the File Explorer, and we're gonna click and drag our body FBX into the content browser. Again, there are just a few settings that we need to look at. Recompute normals and use MIC-T space are also still going to be unchecked for the body. Skeleton is going to be the metahuman base scale. And if I scroll down, we still want import morph targets on. And the physics asset is going to be the M medium NRW body physics. Now this might change for the metahuman that you set up, because this is the body type of the metahuman that I set up. So if you were using a female metahuman, then this might be F_medium, or if it's not the normal weight, it might not be NRW. It's just those little changes. And we're going to hit import. So I'm just going to hit save, and we're going to open up the body skeletal mesh. Not as many things in this one. We're just going to scroll down to the default animating rig, and we're going to search metahuman control rig is going to be that. And then the post-process anim blueprint, we're going to select our body type anim BP. So that's the M medium NRW for me. And we can hit save. Now there's a setting that they recommend that you uncheck. It's always been unchecked for me, but I'm just going to show it to you just in case it's checked and you run into issues. So if you go to the file browser here, it'll populate in the content browser. And we're going to select that body type anim BP. If we hold this open and we zoom out, you'll see at the bottom, final pose, there's this enable body correctives. If we select that, the default value might be checked on. We want to uncheck that. And that's it. Again, it's always been unchecked for me, but just in case. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go back to my folder here. And now we can set up our blueprint. So go back to metahumans, go back to custom DNA, and the BP custom DNA is something that imports when you add your metahuman to your project. So I'm going to select that, and I want to duplicate it because I don't want to override anything. And I just want to keep that as a backup or for other characters that I might bring in. So I'm going to name this stylized MH, BP stylized MH, and I'm going to drag that into the folder here, just so we're organized. I'm going to open up the blueprint, go over to viewport, and zoom in a little bit here. So there's a few options here that we're going to get rid of, mainly because metahuman, when it's so realistic and everything, there's a lot of grooms like for the eyebrows, the beard, and the hair and stuff. We're not using any of that today, so I'm going to shift select and hit delete. The other thing is we got the flip-flops. We don't want the flip-flops, that's under the feet, so I can just select that and hit delete. I'm going to compile and save, and we're going to go to body. Now the material here, I'm just going to click and drag the material that was exported out of MetaPipe. In the skeletal mesh asset, I'm going to hit none, and I'm going to find SMH body. So I'm just going to click that, go to face, skeletal mesh asset, we're going to hit SMH and go to head. Now, for some reason, it doesn't always update in the viewport here, but you can see it updated in the thumbnail of the blueprint. So I'm just going to close this down, open it back up, and here we go. Here's our stylized metahuman. So if I bring this in, and I'm just going to reset the value so it's at origin, I'm going to open up a level sequence here, and I'm going to drag in my metahuman. And now you'll see we have our control rig all set up. Everything is ready to be animated and ready to go. What we need to do here is we need to export our metahuman for MetaTailor. So I'm going to select the BP and hit File, Export Selected. And let's find a folder. And I'm just going to call this Stylized Metahuman. Stylized MH. FBX, and we're gonna hit save. So for the settings, we'll do vertex color. We don't need level of detail, but collision is fine, morph targets is fine, all that's good. And we're just gonna hit export. Now we're ready to get into MetaTailor to dress this thing all up. So let's get into MetaTailor. Have this all open, we're gonna start a new project, and we're gonna get into putting some clothes on this guy. So let's hit new project. Let's keep the naming consistent. We'll just keep it stylized MH. We're gonna hit confirm. Now it's gonna bring in a default kind of character into this. That's okay. We don't have to worry about that right now. We're gonna bring in our character to replace this guy. So we're gonna hit import and we're gonna do avatar. It's nice here. They kind of tell you, okay, if you want cloth and accessory. I don't know what the assembly is. I'm not quite sure about that. But cloth and accessory, and it says it accepts FBX, LBJs, MTAs, and then the avatar needs to be an FBX. So avatar, and we're just gonna go to the folder that I saved it out in, and we're just gonna hit import. So with this all imported, we're just gonna hit the next step. We're gonna hit next step, and it's the landmarks. Now, because this is MetaHuman, this is pretty much all set. I think the only thing that I could see is our nose tip is a little different, and I think the nipples. So let's move the nose tip. Just move that over. Try to center this up. I will say I'm very happy with this program. The only thing that I kind of wish this had in the beginning was just like some orthographic, or just like, hey, go to the front, go to the side. And every time I select this, it kind of like resets. I just wish I could just click it and not have it move, and then move it for a slight little adjustment. That's all. Small little things. Okay, so that's good. And I guess we could just move these up a little bit. Just gonna try my best to make this pretty even. Looks pretty even to me. Okay, and then everything else seems to be pretty good. So I'm just gonna hit next step. And now we're ready. I'm gonna hit save just so we have our avatar all set, and we can hit the content browser. So now this is really where all the fun is that you can kind of scroll down and just figure out, what do we want to do? There is a marketplace. The marketplace is pretty awesome. There are some that people are selling assets for, which is pretty nice. There are a bunch of free ones. So if I go to just clothes here, you can see there's a bunch here, and I don't know if I just haven't downloaded these. This is nice, relaxed professional, and you can click it and you can see, you know, what's the category type. It's categorized as a jacket. So if you hit download, it's gonna go download that asset. I've downloaded a bunch of them, so you can see if I go back to design, it's gonna go back to where we were. And under my content, now we see relaxed professional. So these are all the ones that I downloaded. So all of these assets that are in my content browser, I believe, come with the pro subscription. If you do the free option just to try it out and whatnot, you're going to be a lot more limited on what you could use. But this is all that comes in the pro, and I haven't even downloaded everything. So let's play around with some things. Let's put that t-shirt on that I got. There's a lot. Here we go. So all we have to do is just hit apply, and there we go. Our shirt's on. There might be occasional like small moments where, okay, we got some penetration there, and that basically is mirrored. So if I go and click on it, there's tools. I can push and pull, and we can either sculpt original or sculpt layered. So let's do layered, and you can see it does it a lot. So let's change the strength down. lot. I just want really subtle. And here we go. So that's better right there. And we can just hit confirm. There we go. Let's get some pants on the guy. FBI agent slacks. So if I hit apply, here we go. He's got some slacks on. But you see now the shirt is tucked in, which is pretty cool. But let's say I wanted it untucked. In this left side here on the layers tab, so there's layers and there's tailoring. It's really cool. You could just click and drag and now we're untucked. Pretty remarkable. If I wanted these cyberpunk boots on him, it'll put it to the front, so now that's tucked in. It'll be interesting to see what happens when we untuck it. It might be some weird deformations. It's not too bad, actually. That's actually not bad. Wow. Okay. I thought we were going to get some like really weird like edges off on the side, which we like slightly have, but it's actually not that bad. Now that being said, I think with the boots over would be a better look. But it's so easy. You can see the potential of just easily adding a bunch of clothes on. And let's get a little crazy here. I know I have a cape in here, so I'm going to add the cape. And there we go. You see it just readjusted. This is hilarious. I don't know what type of character we're making today, but he's got a style, that's for sure. But if I go to physics here, and it's going to take a moment. If I go here, let's go to run. We can now see how this is when running. We got a little bit of penetration and stuff, and it's a little stuck. So let's change that. Let's auto-generate parameters. And now, if we hit play, there we go. There's the physics. So we have to auto-generate our parameters. But say it's a little too stuck in areas, we can manually paint. So it's going to just kind of duplicate it here, and we're going to go to paint blending. That's pretty good. We could reduce it where it's like really stuck here. So let's take our strength all the way down to left, and I want to bring this radius down. And now if I paint, now we can really stick this area. And I just want to try and smooth this out. That's one thing that I will say I do wish there was in this paint blending. I love the flood option. I like this whole radius and strength. I just wish there was like a smooth brush here, just to get a little bit, because now we're getting into some weird stuff. So let me undo. That should be fine for now, and I'll just hit confirm. And now this will be fully stuck, but we still have this cape moving around, which this is awesome. I mean, in a matter of not even 10 minutes, we have all this. This is so cool. All right, let's go back to design. We can go back to bind pose, and we'll go back to design. Let's say we want to bring something custom in, because some of these might just not be what you're looking for. Not right for the character, not right for the style, and that's fine. So if we go back to import, we're going to import cloth and accessory. It's like a sci-fi kind of chest plate. I'm going to bring that one in. And here is the geometry. Now, this is just kind of saying the material, value, hue. Doesn't really change it too much. You might be able to tint it. Oh, here we go. Saturation needed to be up. So I could put a color on here if I wanted to, and I can go to the other one and we can just say, like, make it black. Like, that's interesting. We don't need to do that. We're going to do textures afterwards anyways, but it's pretty cool for now. So if I hit next, we want to categorize this. How are we going to categorize this? This should be probably a vest, and let's hit next. So now we need to move this guy, and we need to move the guy, and we need to scale it down just a little bit. And this doesn't need to be perfect, but this is just to get the overall sense of how it should sit on a body. And what's nice is that we set it up once on this character. It's going to be good for any character that we bring in. So this setup is just a one-time setup. I'm going to hit confirm, and we don't need to do pose match, but just to show you what pose match does, if I do pose match, if it's something like with the arm, you can kind of move it around and adjust it to the geometry. That way it knows, okay, that's how it's supposed to fit. If you can't really just like maneuver it around, we could do that maybe with like the bracers next. But I'm just going to hit next step, and now it's going to bring in and it's going to tailor, and there we go. So here's our little armor. Let's start setting this guy up for like an actual character. So I like this little armor, this chest armor. I'm going to remove these. I like these boots. And some of the things, so take a look here. It's kind of off angle with the foot, but that's okay. We can move and we can rotate. And we can just set that up just a little bit more in line. And hit confirm. And now it's all set. But it's only one side, right? Well, if we hit mirror, there we go. There's two boots now. I like this jacket. Maybe not with the armor. So I want to find something cool. I want to find an interesting kind of look, and I want to have some sort of dynamics here. You know, the cape might not be a bad idea. Let's see how it is over. Oh, that's awesome. Oh yeah, that's cool. Okay, great. I want to find there was a tech long sleeve. There we go. Let's move that underneath the chest. So we've got this little long sleeve thing here. This is such an interesting character. What are the tech pants? Oh, cool. This guy is a vibe. And we want to auto-generate those parameters. There we go. That's pretty cool. Not bad at all. Let's go back to design. I'm going to hit save. I just want to make sure that we don't lose anything that we're setting up. Yeah, see, the tech pants are just like a little too much. If I shrink wrap? Oh, if I shrink wrap them, that's better. Oh, that's cool. So I could just do the overall shrink wrap and bring them in, and that helped a lot of my worries with those pants. Okay, that's a lot better. Cool. I have a bracer. Let's bring in a bracer. Let me try it one more time. Night bracers. Hit next step. Jacket. Scale. Confirm. Start pose match. That's what I wanted. So for the pose match, so we have this mirrored. So this is nice that we can just do this. And now I'm just going to move the hand just roughly to where we want it to be, how we want it to sit. Yeah, we don't have to worry too much about how it fully kind of sits. We just need that orientation and like where it sits on the arm. So it's a little finicky, but once you have to set up, it's set up. There we go. That's a little better. So that's feeling pretty good. Let's confirm and let's go to next step. So now, there we go. Those are on. Not bad. I don't like these glasses now. And we do need something on the head because I don't have hair for him. Ooh, zombie biker helmet. That's kind of fun. Oh, even this dark horned helmet. That's pretty cool. And let's remove the sunglasses. Nice. That's pretty cool. Don't mind the colors. And now we can export this thing. So if we hit export, we're going to choose an export path. I'm just going to find where I'd saved out my other file. So I got my export path. I'm going to name this stylized MH clothes. So there are a few settings that we want to make sure, especially with the physics, before we export. So we'll do custom, and we can save this as a preset, which is pretty nice. We'll do that. FBX, PNG, 1, that's all fine. Scale up X100, we want that on. We don't want to include the avatar because we already have the avatar. The avatar is our character, our body, our Metapipe character. We want clothes, we want skin weights, clean bones, and the vertex color, we want to change that from white to simulation in red channel. That's going to come back in Unreal. We'll include the proxies, and because we're going into Unreal 5.5, we're going to check this Unreal 5.5 rotation fix. And that's that. So let's save the export, and we'll just do simulation. And now we're ready to export. So you see it popped up our folder. We have all of the textures here, which is awesome. And our FBX right here. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually go into Substance Painter quick. I'm going to throw some kind of stylized textures onto all of this, and then we can import all the textures as well as the FBX of the clothes into Unreal and get this all ready for animation. So I went into Substance. I wound up throwing textures onto everything, the body, the clothes, and everything. I actually set up my shader with my textures on my body. So you can see here what we've got already. We've got a nice kind of rim light and stuff. So now it's time to bring in the clothes. So let's set all that up. I'm going to bring in a new folder. I just want to, and I'll just say clothes. And we're going to go to our file explorer. I'm going to open up the folder that had the clothes, which is this stylized MH clothes. And we're just going to drag and drop that into the folder. So one of the main things we need to do is go to skeleton, and it's going to be the metahuman base scale because that's what we had our metahuman from before. And we're just going to hit import. And that's going to bring in a bunch of materials, a bunch of textures. We're actually not going to use these textures. I already set up my materials. So once this goes through, then I can easily throw the textures that I had already done. Okay, so let's open up our skeletal mesh. We're going to scroll down past the materials, and we're going to go to the LOD0. Now, the LOD0, it's a little interesting. We have our normal geometry here. These are all with the actual textures. And then we get some opaque materials. These are our proxies. This is what we want to focus on right now. So we're going to go down, and we're just going to highlight these, see what they are. And anything that's not our cape or anything that we want to move, we're going to disable. So that's our cape, so we're going to hold off on that quite yet. Let's go through the others. Okay, so now that that's all set, we're going to go back to the proxy that is our cape, and we're going to highlight and isolate it. I'm going to right click and create clothing data from section. So remove from mesh, and the physics asset, we're going to do the M medium and our W body physics. And I'm going to hit create. Great. And that created our physics assets. So now you see in clothing, if this doesn't pop up, you could go to window and clothing. I'm going to select our clothing data here, select our cape, and apply clothing data. And this is the name that's in that top left. So now that that's applied, we are going to go over here to masks in the clothing tab. And remember when we did that red channel thing as we exported from MetaTailor? Well, this is where it comes into play. So we're going to right click here and we're going to copy from vertex color. And we're just going to say red. And we're going to change the scale to 100. Remember that scale up thing? And we're just going to hit copy. Now we should be all set here. Before I move forward, I am going to move all of those materials that I had set up earlier into the skeletal mesh. So we're just ready to go. And we are going to go to our blueprint, our stylized metahuman blueprint. All right, so we're going to add our clothing to the blueprint. So if I select body here, we're going to go to add, and we are going to add a skeletal mesh. And we can just call this clothing. If we go to our skeletal mesh asset, we can find our cloth, stylized MH clothes. Great. There we go. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool to see it all together. Let's compile and save, and we have one more thing we have to do before we can get into it all. If we go into construction scripts, we'll widen this out. We're going to see a bunch of stuff here. These enable master pose. We are going to copy and paste one of those. We're actually going to feed it in the middle here in this chain. There we go. And now we can click and drag our clothing skeletal mesh in here. And we're just going to hook this up to skeletal mesh component. We can hit compile, save, and that's going to allow everything to actually follow as we go along. So now if we go into our actual level here, I mean, it's already updated. That's pretty cool. Now, one thing you might notice is that we don't actually get the cape moving right now. That's because we sometimes need to simulate in here. Maybe. So for some reason, the cape isn't moving. So let's look at this again. Stylized. Copy from vertex color. It should do it. So it is painted. Oh, there we go. There's something. So there we have it working now. We do just have to adjust some of the actual collisions. So let's say we're going to exit out of this. So if we go here, we're going to open up the actual physics here. And let's see. It's not too bad. This is the metahuman body physics. I want to go to this. I want to duplicate it because I don't want to change it too much for clothing. And we can swap that out here. And this is where we're just going to have to try and mess with it just a little bit. You know, the armor adds a little bit to everything, so I just want to bring it out just slightly. Well, we could go in and we can actually do some cloth paint. Let's do some cloth paint on this. So I'm going to slow this down. I want to actually pin this. So this is where we can really just finesse it. this down a lot. Let's see. And this. I want to make that 0, so let's see. Paint value, there we go. So this we want to pin. So this is really going to help us. All right, let's save. Let's get out of this. And now you could see we've got it pinned, and now it just floats there. Well, now that this is all set up, in essence, we can start animating with this. So, for example, if I brought my BP into here, we can animate with this, and you know, the cloth isn't gonna move and be dynamic as we animate, which is actually probably a very good thing. Just for example, just so you can see everything working. I mean, we can move the face. We can animate this whole entire thing. This is gonna be really fun to animate with. Oh, I did not grab. Here we go. Only select rig controls. Let's make sure that. This is pretty fun to mess with. I'm not going to fully animate a shot right now. I just want to get like an interesting pose quick. But you can see how, you know, pretty simple it actually is to get this stylized metahumans. These tools help a ton. I was going to animate a whole entire shot with this guy. I don't think I'm going to do it right now, just because this went a little bit longer than expected. But I hope you can see how easy these tools are and how beneficial they are. Again, if you want MetaTailor, they gave me that discount link, so click it in the description down below if you want a hefty discount on your first month. Really enjoyed MetaTailor. You know, I'm really just getting started with it, so I can't wait to dive into it more and really bring in more custom stuff and really find that workflow even better. As a reminder, we got a bunch more tutorials on the way, so keep an eye out for those, and spread the word if you like what you see. Thank you so much. Keep creating, and I'll see you in the next one.